Booker is Michael's professional associate. The worst thing Dr. Pollard has ever seen in the sickbay was a binar with Dakalin bookworm eating its synaptic processors. And a wise Vulcan once said, to rush a Sailot is to risk a goring. Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Seventh Rule with Sirach Lofton.
Hello, hello.
My name is Ryan T. Husk, and today we're doing a review of Star Trek Discovery, Season 5, Episode 3, written by Kyle Jarrow and Lauren Wilkinson, directed by Andy Armaganian. And we have a very special guest today. What luck, writer Kyle Jarrow joins us. What's up, Kyle? How are you today?
Hey, it's great to be here. And I hope you get that Vulcan quote tattooed. I'm going to expect to see that tattoo next time.
I'll have it like on my ear.
Yeah.
You did a great job, Ryan, because you picked some of the hardest things to say in the opener.
Yeah.
Those are some tongue twisters right
I thought
there.
there was more to it. I don't know if you know, on that second one, I kept going on Doctor. I was so excited about Dr. Pollard. I was like, oh, wait, it's done. That's the whole thing. Love Dr.
Yeah,
Pollard.
you did great. You did great.
Thanks.
It's nice to meet you guys. I'm happy to be here.
You too, Kyle. Thank you so much for hanging out with us.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I want to start by saying, first of all, this is one of my favorite episodes.
Oh, man, thanks. That means a lot.
Yeah. This is one of my favorite.
Especially Jantara, you know that, you know?
I mean, out of the 5 seasons of this show, this is one of my top episodes
Wow.
of watching this show. And I'll tell you why. I'll give you the reasons why. You really had an A and B storyline that I followed and that I felt were good. And I felt that they matched the tone and theme of the episode, which you basically mentioned as being connecting with each other, connecting.
Yeah.
I felt like that was the big theme of the episode. And so all throughout, up and down the episode, I felt like this was one of the best episodes I've seen. I love the way you gave me Commander Rainier and his performance, because I wanted to see more of his asshole side, and he gave it to us.
You got it. You got it.
Thank you for giving that to us. But yeah, I found myself writing quotes left and right.
Oh,
and that's
thanks, man.
That's the mark of a good episode, when you fill up the page with quotes. And so yeah, I just wanted to compliment you that off of top.
That means a lot. Thanks.
And so my question is for you is, writing these kinds of episodes that are essentially like puzzle pieces inside of a longer story arc, a seasonal arc. What is it like finding the placement of where you are and how you're going to get that story executed?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it's tricky, right? Because actually, in this episode, there's actually 4 storylines. There's Burnham and Book go down to the planet, right? There's Saru and Tarina have a thing. There's the Rayner Tilly story, and then there's a little story which is Adira and Gray. So it's like, you're totally right. Like, each of those 4 stories is within the bigger story arc of the season. And then, so it's like, you got to interweave them, but it has to feel logical. It can't feel just like the cuts are random and the stories aren't talking to each other, even though the stories actually don't really talk to each other. You know what I mean? So that's actually where theme really comes in. And I think to do those kind of episodes and have them make sense, you have to find a theme that can resonate in all the stories. And then it sort of feels like there's a logic to it. But it's really tricky. Like, I personally find it easier to write those episodes where you kind of have just like one story and all the other stories are like echoing off of it. Those are definitely easier, I think. So it means a lot that this one worked, because it was tricky, but I do think unlocking that theme is kind of what made it make sense to me and Lauren when we wrote it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It felt very Star Trek to me in a particular area. And that was kind of the compilation, with Rayner and the bridge crew coming in saying their one line, the quips back and forth and all that. I was like, whoa, this feels very Star Trek all of a sudden. You know what I mean? And I loved it. I predict, it's a very confident prediction. I predict the fans will like this very much because we're always asking for more of the bridge crew. More than a yes, sir, and a no, sir, or, flying really well. Those are great. But this was a fun way to explore them in 20 words or less. And it was just a nice way to explore them and to give people a little something, that they wanted. Was that something that you guys discussed, saying more bridge crew, or did it just kind of work with the story?
No, for sure. And I also want to give a shout out to one of the writers on the staff, Carlos Cisco, spelled Cisco. I feel like maybe you know him. He's awesome, and he is like one of the deepest Trek fans. Okay, I feel like I maybe knew that. Anyway, it was his idea. We knew that we wanted Rayner to kind of get to be an asshole, as you say. We wanted him to be able to meet the crew. We figured that'd be a good opportunity to give a little bit more to Dr. Pollard and the bridge crew and some of these people who don't always get a ton of stuff. Linus.
Yes.
So we knew we wanted to do that. And then Carlos pitched the idea of 20 words or less. And he wrote a bunch of those, he wrote the Linus line. And that never changed from the first pitch of it in the room to the script. So I got to give him a shout out. He's not credited as a writer on the episode. Obviously, we all kind of come up with ideas for all the episodes together. That particular thing, it's a shout out to him. And it just was a really great way to accomplish that goal that we had set out. And I love that, we learned something about Saurians. We learned, we just learned these random facts.
But who wrote the Jet Reno line? Because that was the one that had me rolling.
You know what? Honestly, I don't remember. It might have been me. It might have been Lauren, and it might have been Carlos. I honestly don't remember. But
chips.
Yeah.
I love that you like that. I was a little worried that it was too deep of a reference and that people might not get it.
I didn't get the reference. I just thought it was funny.
You just thought it was funny. Okay.
Yes.
The reference is, I don't know which episode it is. There's an episode where she is being interviewed and she asks for chips. I think it's at the end of season 3, when after going to the future, they all get debriefed and told that they kind of have to hide what happened. I think, anyway, it's a reference to that. But the truth is, she's so great. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. It's she just sells the line. Yeah. I'm glad you like that part. I really, I think that sequence is awesome. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Another Star Trek-y thing for me was the whole Culber scene with the Trill, the whole going through the ceremony of basically inhabiting or bringing back Jinaal through Culber's body. And I thought that felt Star Trek-y to me. That also felt like, this is a good sci-fi moment. Another character being, getting a second life through another character. Were you on the set when Wilson Cruz was performing? Because there was a big switch in his performance that I enjoyed.
I was. I was on set. I actually wasn't on set on the days when they were shooting in the grotto, but I was there for all the days where we shot in the quarry. So those were all the exterior walk and talk, all that stuff. And we actually shot those before we shot the transformation. So, Wilson was really, during those days, it was all about figuring out who is Jinaal going to be. And I just think he did a great job. And for me, it was super fun that he's played Culber for 4.5 seasons now. You know what I mean? To give him as an actor a chance to be something else, I just thought was a really cool. I don't know. I think I loved seeing it. I think the fans will like it. And it was fun seeing a different side of Wilson's performance, I thought.
I was very impressed.
I loved it. He unzipped. He did the whole unzipping.
Yeah, when he unzipped. I think he did just a great job. And Zientara, which is the name of the ceremony or whatever, where you switch or where you take the other host into yourself. is there's like a DS9 episode where they do it. There might even be 2 DS9 episodes, but it's like a real canon thing, but to my knowledge has not been touched since DS9. So it just sort of felt like a really cool thing that, I don't know, just like deserved sort of another chance on screen. And we talked a lot about which character to do it with, right? Because really we could have done it with any of them. We even talked about maybe doing it with Burnham when we were developing the idea. But ultimately, I can't even really tell you why. Culber just felt like the most interesting character to do it with. And just Culber's got such a soft, gentle personality that to see like a sort of the opposite of that just felt like really kind of rich and cool.
I'm so glad you chose that as well. The episode of Deep Space Nine was Facets, by the way.
Yes.
But, when they said we need somebody to do it, I assumed it was going to be Michael Burnham, or maybe it would be Book, because they're more the leads, And then when Culber said, I'll do it, I said, oh, they're going to say, no, it's too dangerous for you. And then Michael says, all right, sounds good. I was like, oh, this is going to be great. Let's see something new for Culber.
Yeah.
We've seen him basically staying in his lane for 4.5 seasons, right? Doing his thing. And he's one of my favorites. Absolutely. He's a beautiful human. He looks amazing. He acts amazingly. And we got to see more. And I know that he was quoted as saying that we're going to see Culber in a way we've never seen before. So I imagined he was going to do something extreme, like super emotional. He was going to be taken over by something and rage or be in major pain or something like that. But I didn't realize he would just be a completely different character. And I thought that he just did such a fantastic job. We've all seen actors attempt to be possessed with something else, and sometimes it works, sometimes it feels a little rough. This was a beautiful. And then when the guy says, he says, hey, this guy really works out. I was like, oh, I loved it. I was so happy about
I love that line too. I won't obviously give anything away about where the season is going, but I will say that the experience of this for Culber is gonna continue to resonate. Like towards the end of the episode, there's that scene where he's talking to Michael and he's kind of like, man, it just really kind of threw my, he's talking about just the experience of having this other, consciousness inside him. And he's sort of trying to like work through it. So that's going to play forward. And actually there's going to be some ramifications for him in terms of, just character wise. So again, not going to give anything away, but we really wanted to honor that. That's like a pretty profoundly weird experience to go through. So it's going to continue to resonate for Culber into the season. So there's some stuff to look forward to there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I just felt like there were so many moments that I really liked. I really loved this Commander Rainier character. There's so much meat on the bone there. When he says, I'm used to having your job, to Burnham. I mean, it was just, I was eating that up. Then when he tells Tilly, no, I didn't give you permission to speak freely. Another moment, just like, I was like, oh, this guy's the best. He's like, I want to see him just like really have these moments. So, really loved having his development, but I wanted to nail down a little bit about the chemistry between Book and Burnham. I know we always talk about chemistry because they ask me a lot about my chemistry with Avery on DS9. And because some of that, there's only so much you can write on the piece of paper, and then there's something that just takes over when two actors are performing with each other, and there's certain things that don't exist on the script. And my question is, there's moments there that I felt like they add a little bit extra than what's on the script. And I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
The line where Book says, hey, what happened to counting to 3? And Burnham comes in and says, well, it works a lot better when you do it faster. But the way it was delivered to me felt so natural and like I feel their relationship. You know what I mean? Is that a fun thing for you to write for? Is that something that they just take to the next level?
No, I think that relationship is so much fun to write for, to be honest. Like they're both just tremendous performers, and they by now, really know and trust and like each other. So they have that chemistry. They have a chemistry as friends in real life, and then they're able to bring to the screen this great. Yeah, it's great. Super fun to watch. And one of the things we wanted to do this season is things got kind of heavy for them last season. Like they obviously they're still dealing with the fallout of like some of the stuff that happened last season, the decision that he made. So we're obviously going to honor that and are honoring that, but we also want to get back to that fun between them, because that is just gold on camera, I think. So yeah, one of the really fun things about this episode was getting to just see them have fun together. And like see that chemistry.
Something kind of a springboard there is, I love Saru. I love Doug Jones, and I think he's an amazing human and
he's
the
awesome.
most glorious actor of all time, practically.
I agree.
But one thing I was not prepared for was what a phenomenal actress Tara Rosling is.
Yeah.
And I'm watching her just be a Vulcan, straight face, but somehow I'm mesmerized by what she's doing. But then I picture you guys as writers, and I can't tell if it's a fun and joyous and natural and easy thing to write, or if it's hard to tell because you're like, it's two different aliens. How do they act in this situation? I don't know. What do you think? I'm petrified. I mean, which one of those is it?
Well, you know what? What's interesting about both of those characters is they're both emotionally constipated in different ways. Constipated is a weird word, but you know what I mean? Like,
yes.
He's obviously Vulcan, which means emotions are very muted. And Saru is a pretty emotionally muted guy as well. So to me, it's like the fun of that relationship, but also the challenge is that they're both people who are not going to just start emoting, like they're both aliens who are not going to start emoting. So you have to find a way to write a scene that is emotional, right? But where neither character is going to speak with contractions, and also neither character is going to really open up emotionally. You know what I'm saying? Like figure out a way for two emotionally muted characters to talk. And for me, one of the big inspirations was, have you ever seen Remains of the Day? That movie? This is so random, I know. It's this movie. Wait, I'm going to just make sure I'm getting the name right. It's with Anthony Hopkins, and he plays this like long-serving servant of a wealthy British family. And he's just this character where like he's so controlled. He's like a British butler, right? But it's like the emotion is in all the things he doesn't say, if that makes sense. I don't know. For me, that like character is kind of how I see both Saru and Tarina. Like there's a lot of emotion there, and a lot of it plays in what they don't say. And the truth is they're both so good that they can play it in the eyes, But it's definitely a challenge, but I think when it works, it's really rad.
Totally works.
I bet you never thought Remains of the Day would get a shout out on this show, but
yeah, I just felt like this had so many layers to it. I did like the character Mr. Duvin, that was, the kind of the president's assistant, and the antagonist in their relationship. I thought that was a nice way to kind of put some division between the two of them. And just as the storylines, I felt Adira had a very good performance about feeling the way that they felt about kind of this distance in the relationship. The way it was broken down, I just felt like the story and the pace kept moving. Were there elements that you had to leave out because there was too much? Because I felt like a Woshikin could have got a little bit of airtime.
Because there's a line where it's like, we're gonna bring her in, and then we don't see it.
And Detmer too, I think.
So There were definitely some things that we did have to trim just for time and also flow. I mean, that's true of almost every episode. I will say, like, I don't think we really cut as much as I don't recall us cutting any whole scenes. One scene that was much longer in the script was where Saru is in like the conference room and they're kind of doing the negotiation. It's like his first time being an ambassador. So we had a much meatier scene where we actually got to sort of hear a little bit more texture about what they were discussing, and we got to see him be a little bit more adept as an ambassador. We got a little more of Tarina helping him out. And it was really good stuff. It was just that when we got into the flow of it, you know what I mean? It was like, that's not really what that storyline was about. It was more about the Tarina Saru engagement situation. So I think like probably about half of that scene at least ended up being trimmed, but I frankly didn't really miss it. And then, you know, some internal trims and things, but we didn't have to lose anything gigantic after shooting. Yeah.
In regards to that scene, those aliens that we saw, is that something that the you know, makeup guys just say, hey, we get a chance to go crazy and let's make up something, or is that something that you're writing for them, this particular,
you know what,
kind of
that's a great question, and the answer depends a little bit. Like, a lot of the time it is the director and wardrobe and makeup who are, and Tunde, who's the producing director, a lot of times they will make the decisions about which aliens are, and trying to have a variety of aliens and some fan favorites and maybe some new ones, like trying to get that mix. A lot of times they'll make that decision. Sometimes it is scripted. In that scene, it was not scripted. So for sure in that scene, they made those decisions. I think that they do run those decisions by Michelle Paradise, who's the showrunner, I think, just to make sure that there's no choices that end up like being problematic, kind of like that there's a species in there where we're going to do something with that species later in the season or something. But yeah, a lot of times those are not writer choices. Yeah, especially with like background aliens.
Those were great choices.
Good.
I was like, what the hell is that? And I was, and then the wardrobe. I mean, the wardrobe in that scene was also A+, top notch. So
good.
Wardrobe's always unbelievable.
Oh my god!
I feel like
Saru's outfit was
yes.
Like,
his ambassador outfit. Yeah.
It's like tailor made. It looks like it's like one of a kind for that guy. I mean, I love.
You know what I'll tell you is my favorite outfit in the episode is Guardian Z, who's the like head guardian. He has that like red robe that's like armless. I think that thing looks so badass. It's just such a cool, you know,
some kind of kung fu monk going on there. We're like, I'm watching you. I know you're going to do something. I know you.
He's the villain in the movie.
Yeah, I love that outfit.
It's a red herring.
They do
very good stuff.
It's a red herring, and I don't understand that. I thought that was funny. Herrings aren't even red. I think that's the point. I still don't get it.
Yes.
So
yes. Yes. Beautiful stuff.
You know what? Can I just say, I, you know, everyone in the writing, you know, on a writing staff brings different skills to the table, whatever, and has sort of different agendas that they, you know, as fans of the show that we're trying to advance. For me, one of the agendas that I always try to advance in the room and also in the episodes I write is like just more humor. Because I feel like Trek has just a really rich tradition of actually like being pretty funny a lot of the time. So I'm glad some of the jokes are pretty stupid. I think that one's pretty stupid. I'm glad it worked for you. And I'm sort of amazed that it made it to camera, to be honest.
I mean, I thought it was great and it was good, well delivered. What were you saying, Strzok?
Well, I have another reason why I have a deep-seated kind of love for this episode is because I do feel like there was an homage of Deep Space Nine playing throughout it. That we had the reference to the Dominion War.
Mm-hmm.
We have the Trill and their culture, you know, the spots and everything being highlighted in this episode. I felt like I saw Ferengi at the bar. So
yes, that's right. Red.
The bartender is a Ferengi. Yeah.
So I mean, I'm like, wait a minute, this is giving me super DS9 vibes. And then Burnham says a line which I think actually reminds me of the wormhole aliens, and that is, advancement isn't linear. It was a line that she gives to Book, and I thought it was one of a really great line, because it does kind of tell the story of advancement. We always think of it as some kind of linear thing where we keep getting better and improving, but there is this kind of ebb and flow of up and down and back and forth. And so I appreciated that line as well, as far as some of the things that Star Trek does to make us think, which is, again, why I think this episode is so well written. The theme of connecting seemed to fall through all the storylines. Also, great use of Book's power, of his ability.
Nice.
That was just, sometimes we're watching Next Generation, we're like, why doesn't Counselor Troy use her thing to figure it out?
I know.
Yeah. So we're always trying to find the uses of people's abilities, and I thought Booker did his thing with his ability in this episode as well. So kudos to you. Tilly did some great stuff. I loved her kind of talking that smack.
Yeah, when she gets mad, I love that scene.
Yeah.
Yes. So all around, just big kudos to you, to Lauren, and as you were saying, Mr. Carlos Cisco. So I mean, really kudos to all of you guys.
Oh, thanks.
And also the director, who I really thought made some great choices as well, both from the filming of the bar scene. I love the pool pan in. I love the mind meld kind of trill ceremony.
Yeah, I thought she did a great job with that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, she's very visual. Like another moment that I thought was really cool, I don't know if you noticed this, is when Tarina's like assistant tells Saru, like, hey, can I have a moment with you? And then the camera pans up to the second level and they beam up like exactly when the camera comes up. That was an idea of hers. And she had a bunch of ideas like that for transitions that I thought were really cool.
Yeah, that's very nice. Well,
I'm glad you dug the episode.
We loved it,
thanks.
Kyle. And we're just about out of time here. But we really, really appreciate you taking the time to join us and helping to create my personal third favorite Jinaal, behind Malcolm Jinaal Warner and Jinaal Mashburn. Thank you very much for that. Feel free to use that in episode 4. It's already written, never mind. But anyway, but we really appreciate this, Kyle. It's been a ton of fun. We hope to see everybody clamoring and going nuts for this episode, as I'm sure they will, and the rest of the season. Thanks very much.
Cool. Thank you. Great to meet both you guys. And thanks for chatting.
Now, everybody at home, stick around. We will be right back with more of this glorious episode on The Seventh Rule. Ooh. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to The Seventh Rule with Sirach Lofton. This is The Free For All with Melissa Longo.
Hi.
Also, Eve England out in Wales.
Hello.
We have, that's TJ Jackson Bay out in Missouri. I am not reading what that says there. That's funny. It's the Jet Reno quote. Very nice.
Yeah.
Jed Thompson, what's up? We've also got Greg Kenzo out in Hawaii. It's like dawn for him, practically. Carrie Schwent is also here. She had pizza. And Scott Jensen, Goldu Scott, makes his triumphant return. All right. Ooh. Here are the trivioids of the week. Can you believe it? We're doing trivioids and free for all together.
Amazing.
I know. Tilly and Adira have been analyzing the poem from lyric. Jinaal Bix lived exactly 800 years ago. Commander Rayner's quarters are smaller than he's used to. Kalzara sees no one unless they answer a question. Saru misses his old crew. Booker is a professional associate. The worst thing Dr. Pollard has ever seen in the sickbay was a Binar with a Dekalan bookworm eating its synaptic processor. Of course. Nilsson transferred to Voyager. Bummer. That's a bummer. And a wise Vulcan once said, to rush a Sailot is to risk a goring. All right.
Got the words right out of my
It
mouth.
reminds me of Spain again.
Yeah, Pamplona, right?
A goring.
Goring. All right. Oh, did we have some non-appearance mentions today, everybody?
Oh,
Picard.
Yeah.
Picard.
And
well, technically he
Nielsen.
appeared, right?
Owoshikun, yeah. That's another one.
Nielsen.
Detmer's another one. Nielsen's another one, yes. I feel like there are even still a couple more.
That Romulan doctor?
Oh, yeah.
Body form last time around.
Oh, what was his name? Bellic?
Dr.
Bellic.
Yeah.
I did get that. Yeah, I got that. Bellic. And there was one more.
Progenitor? I mean,
that I know about. Oh, the progenitor. Shoot. Actually, yeah. Well, we saw an image.
There was a picture.
But we also saw Picard, right?
Not this episode.
Not this episode.
In a previous episode.
Here's the other one that I got. Locke. They mentioned Maul and Locke, but then we saw Maul at the end there.
Yeah.
Not Locke.
Wow. It's a lot.
Yeah.
All right. Melissa Longo, please get us on the right track. What did you think of this episode?
Wow, so much is going on in this episode. So many storylines. And I would like to focus on maybe three. First, I have to say, Wilson Cruz is a rock star. Mm-hmm. He is a rock star. I really enjoyed his performance in this, especially when he was talking about the red herring and how he doesn't understand why they call it a red herring because herrings aren't red. That was fun. And then these two lovebirds are just so cute, and they remind me of a little bit of Odo and Kira, especially in that episode where Odo is trying to apologize to Kira for insulting a Vedic. And then he's like, well, I thought we were broken up. No, we're not broken up. We just had an argument. So Saru kind of did the same thing with Tarina. But I love their relationship together, and I really enjoy Tarina as a person. I was going to say a human being, but she's a Vulcan. So
Vulcan being.
Yes, but the guy behind Carrie Schwent, Rayner, I feel like he's a bit misunderstood. A lot of people are calling him an arsehole, but there's the thing is to me he seems like a very awkward person who is trying to acclimate to his new surroundings. He has to deal with being demoted, and now he's put in this position where he has to learn a whole new crew of people and a whole new language with this crew. He mentioned that he had a shorthand with his previous crew and the way they spoke to each other. So obviously he doesn't have that now. And I noticed him trying to reach out in a way that maybe the other people didn't catch on, because he tried to crack a joke twice to two different people and they didn't get it. One was Burnham and one was Tilly. And they didn't get it. And when somebody's trying to joke with somebody or be jovial with them, they're trying to connect. And I don't think he's getting that kind of credit that he probably should. Respect is earned, and he is coming into their home. So maybe they should be a little bit more open to being more like ambassadors, like Armin on the set of Deep Space Nine. He always said, this is your party. You're inviting these people to so you have to reach out. You have to make the first step to welcoming these people in. So I like Rayner, and so I don't think he's the boohoo asshole that people are calling him. And that's all.
Excellent stuff. Thank you very much. Melissa Longo, out in the mean streets of Los Angeles. Eve England from the nice streets of Wales. What's up? What'd you think of this one?
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Melissa. I just thought the way, it just seemed like, I didn't like the way that they portrayed Raina, the situation in this one. Because, yeah, I totally agree. It was, I just felt that they were deliberately humiliating him. The fact that he was supposed to go around and speak to everybody when he was a previous captain, they just, I totally agree. I think he deserves more. And I think he's really cool. And he seems like a genuinely principled person. He does what he thinks right. He does have that. And he clearly demonstrated that he actually did have this interpersonal skill that everybody just thought he lacked right through. So, yeah, I'm hoping we're going to see more of him because I think he is a really good addition to the cast. But just overall, I found this episode a little busy, but what I did like is how it was kind of giving us these sort of sneak peeks of hopefully things to come. So all of the reference to the Breen was super exciting because obviously we see them from Deep Space Nine, but they're very mysterious and don't really know anything about them. So I'm really, really, really keeping everything crossed that we find out a bit more of them because they just have always fascinated me since watching that. So fingers crossed that they don't leave us hanging on that one. And then my general other comment was I just absolutely love the design of this show. I had to keep pausing the scenes when they were in Saru's quarters, when he had all those plants and those amazing pot holders, and then his teacups and his chairs. I was just like, these are just beautiful things that I just want in my house. And then in the bar scene at the end, their glasses were I was just like, I just want all this stuff in my house. And I just, hats off to the design team. It's just beautiful to watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Actually, you can get most of that at StarTrek.com. Let me pull that up. Well, hopefully someday.
I wish.
I thought the same thing. That bar, I wrote in my notes, it looks so cozy. It looks like such a great place to just hang out, relax, have a beverage, talk to your favorite Ferengi.
Yeah.
TJ Jackson Bay is here.
Sorry, just quick. Did they have? Was that green thing, the Sluggo Cola stuff? I was wondering.
Yes.
I wasn't sure if it was.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yes.
I think it's awesome. That's got to be Ferengi drink because it just looks so cool. So I hope they stop selling those as well.
Our two favorite green things: Sluggo Cola and the Party Gorn.
The best.
TJ Jackson Bay out in Missouri. What's up, TJ? What do you think of this one?
I enjoyed this episode. I did think the pacing was a little weird with all the stories, but it was still fun, and I enjoyed it a lot. I mirror a lot of what Melissa said. I think Raynor is quite a bit misunderstood, but also very new. So we have a chance to get to know him and see how he operates. I noticed that, he seems familiar with the crew's strength and potentials. And I'm hoping that's really something they showcase is how he commands and maybe does things a little bit differently based on what he knows about these people. And that's how, maybe they find that, we do have a connection with this guy, and that's just how he is, maybe. So just kind of, what I'm hoping to see. Who knows what we'll see. And can I just say that I love Sylvia Tilly. That was a lot of loves. And the way that she handled that situation and the way that he began to warm up to her, especially towards the end. And throughout the episode, she twice took the opportunity to speak freely without permission, and he didn't try to come down on her, about that or anything. He really stood there and listened to what she had to say every time, even if he didn't give direct, response. Oh, okay, you're right, or anything like that. He's taking it in, and that's evident. But I just love that Tilly is so much more confident in who she is and able to speak, and her strength is that connection that she's able to make with people very fast. We've heard that before, That's why Saru made her the first officer before, and her acting in this capacity with Commander Rayner, I think, really showcases that skill that she has. I really, really enjoy all of the DS9 references. I think they referenced Zen-Kathy Space. I don't know if anyone has mentioned that earlier. I really hope they go to Bajor or something. DS9 related. There's so many references this season already.
Yeah.
That I'm just super excited for what's to come. I really, really, really also enjoyed all of there's a bunch of metaphysics in this episode. And yes, Jet Reno's line was one of them, and she referred to it as woo woo. But she still said it, and she still believed it. But really, I enjoyed the speech that Gray gave at the end. And one quote from that is, "We must choose to connect not just with others, but with ourselves." And as Gray is giving this speech, they have this montage where we see Rayner, we see Book, we see Colbert, we see Tilly, all of these people that we know are on a journey, throughout this season of connecting with others and connecting with themselves again. And so I'm really interested to see, if more of that story materializes. I really appreciated that speech. I think it's super important to reflect on because it is a restatement of the as above, so below principle. Most of us have heard that saying. And it's equal with, as within, so without. So when we connect with ourselves, we connect with others. And that's enough for my woo-woo.
Great stuff. Thanks very much, TJ Jackson Bay out in Missouri. All right, like Commander Reese, fellow shiphead Jed Thompson. What'd you think of this one, Jed?
Oh, I loved it. I mean, Discovery can do no wrong for me. And this one, I mean, TJ just kind of nailed it on the head about connection. Everybody's, this episode is about connections, and my ADHD loved the pacing in this one. It was ping pong, it was tennis match, whatever you want to call it. And it really was, there was so much tension. God, you needed to bring a whole set of kitchen knives to this one. There was so much tension between Rayner and everyone, tension between Book and Burnham, tension between Gray and Tal, and let's be Gray and Adira, excuse me. And as a gay man, to see a queer relationship, especially a teenage one, this is great for kids these days. I didn't have this. No offense, Rock. I had Deep Space Nine growing up. And it was great to see you and Will Wheaton and other teenagers and Aaron, of course. But there wasn't the diversity of gender identity and LGBT gigs, everything else there. And so just to see that, and it's just the tension and awkwardness that we've all gone through when we're 16 and 17 and just, not light years apart. Sometimes we felt like we were light years apart, but, so that was just so great to see and handled, I think, kind of, in just in a good way. The tension between Trina and Saru that was resolved with a maturity that I can only hope to master at some point in my life. Thank you, Vulcans. And, it's just like, no, I accept it. And we're moving on. Great. Like, that's how we all want this to happen. And of course, in our own internal monologues or dialogues, it never happens like that. So just, it was fantastic. I've got a couple of things I'll save for later on, and also sort of a tension of time. And maybe I just saw this in a different way, but that you have this 22nd century crew with a 24th century Trill scientist and in the 32nd century, and so there's almost this tension of time dynamics in a very subtle way. And maybe I'm just grasping at straws there, but that walk to a large carnivore's breeding ground was an interesting walk to and from. and Wilson Cruz. It was nice to see Wilson Cruz have some acting chops there, and Jinaal definitely was interested in the associate.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if anybody else picked up on that, but I was like,
Huh. I didn't catch that. Interesting.
Yeah. No.
Great stuff, Jed Thompson, fellow shiphead. Thank you very much for that. Greg Kenzo's out in Hawaii. He's never worn a jacket in his life. What do you think of this one?
This was great. I have to kind of combine all of season 3 into one. I mean, season 5 into one giant episode, because I watched them back to back last night, because it drops at midnight Pacific time. I watched it at 9 p.m. White time. Anyway, so I wanted to say right off the bat that I love that the writers found this great balance between serialized storytelling and a kind of an episodic style of storytelling that we love in Star Trek. This plot just lends itself so well to actual discovery and exploration, which is what I wanted kind of from the beginning of Star Trek Discovery, but I completely understand that, we needed the beginning to get to this point. This kind of like puzzle piece story arc will allow for us to go to these different worlds. I love the progenitors, them taking a small part of TNG and exploring that. It's amazing as well. Let's see, Sneaker's performances, they're always amazing, but especially in these few episodes, her with Saru, it's just you can just feel the love there. I think the love that Sneaker has for Doug Jones, honestly, it felt like I was like, is Doug Jones leaving the series? The last couple episodes, but anyway, I'm glad to see that he's not. But to comment on this episode in particular, Wilson Cruz, his performance was amazing. I love the trans and non-binary representation we see here. Let's see, and it's kind of like an animal rights thing too. Like, this alien is so different than us. When they're going for Wilson, it's Jalal's clue, and the aliens protecting their nest. They kind of come to an understanding at the end, and that's like the whole point of getting. That's how they get the clue. So it's like, treat not just humans or humanoid species with respect, but treat animals with respect, and you'll end up getting what you want. You can prove yourself, especially with animals. Yeah,
totally agree with that. Jinaal life is good life, right? It almost worked. Carrie Schwent is here. What's up, Carrie? What'd you think of this one?
Very, very, very good. Loved every single bit of it. We get Tig for the first time this season. The amazing Tig Notaro. Love her so much. She's the cool aunt in the Stamets, Culber, Adira family relationship. So she's the cool aunt with the snarky lines and the fun advice. Yeah, Adira and Gray kind of saw the breakup coming, but she's got plenty of family on the ship to help her through it. Auntie Tig will take her to the bar, get her a couple of drinks, get the crying out of the way. I loved Wilson. He was great. Got to stretch his muscles quite a bit. My favorite part of it though was with Raynor and Tilly. Tilly's been my number one favorite from the beginning. TJ can attest to this. When they announced that she was going to be on the cruise next year, I practically vibrated out of my skin. I was bouncing up and down. So he was sitting right next to me when they announced it. So he's a witness. Love her, and I love the actor that plays Raynor. I've got my other favorite role of his. Other shoulder. He was one of our favorite Cylons on Battlestar Galactica. He was cool. He had a very menacing and sometimes a little scary presence. Just so great, and I love his voice too. Not everybody gets to know new people the same way. His way was to bring everybody in, say something super quick. The closest parallel to that, and I just remembered this, is there's an episode of Doctor Who, and there's a character named Madame Vastra. She's talking to Clara, trying to figure out how Clara needs her help, and she says, "Okay, tell me what you need from me, but do it in one word only." And that's very hard to do. She's got to sit there and think about it. And granted, Raynor doesn't give everybody very much time, and they end up babbling. He's got to cut them off. But he shows at the end with Tilly that he learned a lot about them just in those tiny little snippets. And I think seeing Raynor and Tilly's relationship evolve, I think is going to be very, very interesting to watch. Because she's I love once again love her very much, and I attach to people kind of the way Tilly attaches to people, and sometimes the very people you wouldn't expect, and I very much enjoyed that. And instead of a poem for this episode, I decided to describe myself in 20 words, and by my name underneath it, you can probably guess where I'm going to go with it.
Poem. This is an imposter. Oh wait, that was last free for all. Go ahead.
That was, yeah. I thought doing this was a little bit more fitting for the episode. I've become a crafty person by nature and enjoy using crafts to make gifts for people, which brings me joy. And one last thing that brings me joy: Wilson Cruz lounging back on that rock, arms behind his head, just chilling, looking at the stars. That's all I have to say about that.
He knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
He looks so comfortable too.
Thanks very much, Carrie. You know who else knows what he's doing all the time? It's Scott P. Jensen. What's up, Goldu Scott? What did you think of this one?
As long as everyone thinks I know what I'm doing all the time. That's my main. Of course, I'm going to come at this that I love that I heard the Dominion War spoken of very clearly in here. Any show from Star Trek after DS9 that references the Dominion War automatically gets 10 points in my book. Especially, I'm feeling a lot of this. I don't want to go into a couple things, but I want to focus on Raynor more like everybody else, because I think it's the Pulaski-Shaw dynamic with him, is that he's very much just surface red in the very beginning, but he feels like someone who has been through things like the Dominion War, life after the burn, where they were chugging along, and he's border dispute after border dispute, and this guy has had to make very hard Cisco-like choices, and we never saw that. We don't get the luxury of seeing his backstory, so we're seeing it come out in front of us. And I laugh too, because I watched this episode while I was on break, and I have the tradition that I do when we get new people that come to work at the store. I look at them and I go, "I'm going to ask you a question, and you have 5 seconds to answer." And I hold my hand out and I go, and I say, "Who's your favorite band? What's your favorite actor?" Just to find out the little surface things about them, because I do feel like that sense of urgency and that, oh my God, I only have a couple seconds to answer this, is when you get most honest. So when I saw Raynor doing that, I was like, oh, this is badass. This is like exactly right. And I'm empathizing with him more. It also could be because it's funny, my grandfather's name was Ragnar and my dad's name was Reynard. So maybe, shoving the two of them together and crazy ears might be similar to it too. But yeah, I love him so much. I love the feel that I'm getting from this grizzled old veteran that is, kind of being forced to learn how to ride the bike again. and I just think that's a really cool perspective. This view of compassion and this learning to communicate with everybody, even Book, who can, psychically do it with animals, is still learning, how to do it vocally and emotionally, and communicating with Michael again. And yeah, I really liked it. I felt like there was a lot of plates spinning, but I did pay attention to all of them. And clocked back in about 5 minutes late, but we won't tell my boss that.
Excellent stuff. Thank you very much, Galdu Scott Jensen. Allison Leach Hyde is here wearing a cool disco shirt. What's up, Allison? What do you think of this one?
I have always really enjoyed Discovery, and this season is amazing. And it's reaffirming to me that this is one of the best and most talented casts of Star Trek. I'll always put it below Deep Space Nine because, of course, I have a huge soft spot. But Disco, each of the actors by themselves are so super talented that it makes, I feel like we're kind of spoiled watching them because they play all the small beats and small moments, and it's all shot in high definition, and it's just beautiful to watch. Watching Sonequa's face is just beauty. Like she can hold different emotions in different places of her face, and it is just beautiful to watch. And Wilson Cruz is my favorite in the entire show, and especially in this episode, because how often does Wilson Cruz get to play a grizzled cowboy? And it was wonderful to watch. He was having the best time. And I laughed when he went, come on, he did the like this way, a little swagger hand gesture. And I'm just like, oh yes, this is going to be great. So I loved that. And I also have a huge soft spot for Anthony Rapp because I am a 90s theater kid. And watching him play Stamets has been so much fun. And today on this episode, because he has been down the last couple of episodes, like, what am I going to do with my life? And something made him happy and excited him. And it was wonderful to see that play across Anthony Rapp's face. And to remind us that, yeah, sometimes we have this big idea of what our lives are going to be, and we're going to dedicate that 100% every day. And sometimes we have to pivot, and he's learning to do that. And he's not young. Stamets is not a young character. So getting that with an older character going, oh yeah, no, life is a journey, and we take different paths. Sometimes because, our path has stopped or something's blocking it, we have to find a new one. And sometimes because we decide. And so I think Discovery has a great name because all of these characters are always discovering something about themselves emotionally or professionally, and really enjoying this season so far.
Excellent stuff. Thank you very much, Allison Leach Hyde. All right, everybody, it's time for Jake's final take. What do you think, Srock?
I heard the word erudite in this episode. I had to look it up, and it doesn't spell the way I hear it, which is crazy. But I will say that there's a few things I really liked about this episode. I loved all the DS9 in this episode. We had a Rock the Gino mention. I thought, hey, we got the Rock the Gino. I know about the Rock. We had the Dominion War reference. Obviously, anytime you talk about the Trill, I think that's a DS9 reference. So yeah, I mean, it was just loaded for me. So I love that. It actually felt like it was Quark's bar, like another version of Quark's bar was somewhere else, right? Because you didn't get the Ferengi behind the bar. It just felt like, I was like, okay, there's another a chain of Quarks. But I agree with a lot of the things that you said. I think that Tilly's acting is great. She's so just she's the lovable person that you want to be friends with, and actually they show her character as being the friendly one, like the gold standard of connecting with people, because she has that high level ability to socialize and to kind of relate to people and get past people's exterior barrier of, stay away from me. So I think that's her gift, and she's using it well in this particular episode. And she kind of calls him out. You're fresh off of a demotion, and she kind of like pulls his card on a few things, And then she says, "You're acting like a giant," and she's like, "That's 20 words." I love that pause right there. I was like, "Oh, that was clever right there." What was she going to say, Ryan, after giant? I don't know. Yeah.
No? I think actor or something like.
Okay, actor. Yeah, sure.
Captain.
Yeah.
Friend.
I like hearing words like abuela in these episodes. I don't know. It just jumps out to me. It's like, oh, it's a good word. It just means something to so many different people, and just that language just helps kind of reemphasize, the Latin culture in the world, and it just makes me feel comfortable when I hear it. Get your tribbles spayed or neutered. Make sure you do that, everybody. That's a Bob Barker lesson. And last but not least, I really like Burnham as a leader. I like the way she's kind of guiding Commander Raynor in saying, "Hey, no, it's not really a choice. You got to get to know everybody one-on-one." And this is like, she's showing a lot of leadership in those moments. She's showing a lot of leadership in the scenes that she does with Book. I just feel in general she has really convinced everybody that she is deserving of her leadership, and she's making great decisions. So I love that about her. Yeah, and I'm interested to know more about this, the progenitor knowledge or whatever it is that they're going to be trying to find, what it is exactly that we're looking for. So I am curious about that as well. And last but not least, the computer, Zora, the Explorer, had a little shout out in this episode as well, and I thought that was
great. She would say, "Abuelita, abuelo,
yes,
abuela."
Yes, exactly. So,
all right, everybody.
Very good.
Great stuff. That is the most times we've said abuela ever on this show, but many more to come, probably. This is the second time they mentioned on Discovery, right? I think Wilson said it was in the first episode when he said, "I have more faith in these people than my abuela had in the spirit she prayed to," or something like that.
Yeah.
Brings her back. I liked it. All right. Great stuff, everybody. Thank you so much to Allison, Scott, Carrie, Greg, Jed, TJ, Eve, and Melissa. For myself, for Sirach Lofton, Aaron Eisenberg, Melissa Longo, we'd like to thank you very much for hanging out with us. And until next time, always remember the 7th rule. What if we just keep it recording like for a really uncomfortable amount of time?
My camera froze.